Well, people always ask where you're from. I mean, people, and they're usually they mean well when they do that. And so I answer, I know they're not asking me if I'm from Seattle, right? So that's a question that gets asked a lot. And then now that when they find out my parents were Japanese American and I'm Korean, they're like, how'd you guys get along? And I'm like, well, those are those two countries. we didn't bring that into the house. But those are kind of the questions, people trying to wrap their minds around adoption and what's that like, and especially what's it like to not know your real birth date. That's a big one.
How is that? I was getting ready to ask that. Like, can they really figure out how old you are with today's technology?
Not, roughly, right? And, Asian don't raisin. So I like to say I
And
look younger than I am, but, not to the day. And so the date they gave me is December 16th, 9 days before Christmas. And when I found out that wasn't my birthday, I'm like, could you have picked at some time like in March or something? Why do you have me there competing with the savior, or with Christmas? So no, they can't tell exactly, but it's because I was a baby, it's roughly around that time, I would imagine.
let me ask you a question. Such a beautiful story too that you're telling. Adopted. Let me go back to your adopted parents. Were you the only child that they adopted? Did you grow up with siblings or anything like that?
No, I grew up as an only.
What about their family? Do you have cousins, relatives?
I do, but they were a lot older than me, the cousins were, so I never grew up close to them. In fact, me moving from Seattle to Dallas, this was really huge for me because my kids don't live with me. I'm close to my kids, but they're in their 20s. They're doing their own thing and they're doing well, but moving over here, I don't have an anchor. My parents are gone, they passed away. So no, I don't, other than my kids, I really don't have family.
Let's go a little bit deeper. And thank you for taking time to come and really share a story because it's going to get deep, guys. I
All
want you
right, I'm going to go there with you.
because I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. So I'm thinking if I was in your shoes and got found in the box, I got new parents, you're in America and you're coming to America during, let's get real, people. We was dealing with a lot of racial shit. I know we're talking about the George Floyd, but that shit went on long before there was a George Floyd all over the world. Now that you're older, is there any way to determine with today's technology who your real parents might have been?
Other than DNA, and my DNA is even in the Lost Children's Bank in Seoul, South Korea right now. Somebody related to me would also have to submit a DNA sample for there to be a match. So all I know is that I'm Korean, and I'm Asian. But other than that, no, no, not unless somebody came forward to look for me and actually submitted a DNA sample to match.
What's been the toughest part of that transition of your life? Coming over here, new family. How has it been so far for you? Because to
But
me, it seems
yeah.
like, you're not really comfortable with the date that you was born. Usually when we're not comfortable with different things, there's a reason. There's a bigger picture. But how are you navigating everything now?
Now as a keynote speaker, one of my foundational phrases is the story you tell yourself changes everything about yourself. And so the story I tell myself now gives me confidence. I've had 3 different birth stories in my life. When you don't know your birth story, you make one up. I made one up as a child. I made one up in my 30s, and I have the one I carry now. Because I was so young, I didn't know any different than now. And I don't know that the transition was as difficult, although, they say that I have a biological son and an adopted daughter. And when you have a child and you realize, man, that child within the first year, even if it's just the first year, that bond that happens and getting their needs answered all the time. And you think of a child who's been to different homes in that first year, that's not going to be the same child. And so I know that even though I don't know exactly what that may have done to me as a person, being put in different situations within my first year. I know it's definitely had to affect me in some way as opposed to, living with my birth family and never having that experience that first year.